Welcome back to Cask and Point. Today we are reviewing Booker's The Reserves. Now Booker's The Reserves is an 8 to 14 year blend that Freddie No, their master distiller at Jim Beam, has created for us in 2024, and it's meant to pay honors to his grandfather Booker No, who obviously founded the Booker's lineup in the 1980s. Now, this is designed to be an annual release, and I think as opposed to Little Book, which has been an annual release and they made edition 8 this year, this is meant to be just bourbon. So Little Book obviously has some rye elements to it, sometimes some malt whiskey elements to it. I think this is meant to just be bourbon. So it should be interesting to see how it turns out. It's a little bit older than the whiskeys that we get from Booker's batches. Those are usually 6 to 7 years old. This is at minimum 8, but there is a 10 and 14 year element in this as well. So should be exciting to see if they've produced some pretty good stuff. But Jim Beam is just going off on releases this year. They have Old Granddad, the brand new one that's 16 years old. They have Booker's The Infinite, Booker's Reserves. Obviously the Little Book Chapter 8 still comes out, and obviously the 4 releases from Booker's. So they're really pumping out some good new releases, but let's find out how good this one is. Now, this is $130 MSRP, and its secondary is probably about double that right now, maybe a little bit less, around $225, and only time will tell if it maintains this secondary value or if it's just that high right now because it's pretty recently released. We'll see, but let's find out if it's good whiskey. Now, this sample is from a good buddy of mine, the guy that actually runs Liquid Ministry. Now, if you didn't know, I like to consider myself the sample king sometimes. I have over 500 samples, and actually only about 60 bottles, and I'm saying only, but you probably see a lot of YouTube videos with people that have far more bottles than I have, and that's because I really love samples, and he started this, he designed them, and they have 2 ounce, 1.5 ounce, and 1 ounce markers here. So really amazing, so much cooler than the normal sample jars that people use. So I've started using them a lot more, and maybe one day I'll only have Liquid Ministry. But yeah, so thank you to him for this sample. But let's get into it, and let's see how good this release really is. So on the nose, there's a lot of cherry. There is some good musty oak on this one. Some caramel and some really dark fruit. Like there are dark flavors on this. So like a dark plum with some cherry, a little bit of stone fruit, peach, nectarine, not much, but just a ton of oak, a little bit of that musty oak, reminiscent of honestly like an older Stag Junior batch here. Smells really nice though. It is not as potent though as those other releases. I mean, this is mid 110s proof, I believe. So, you know, not gonna bat like the 130s, but smells like a very good whiskey. Let's try it and see how good it is. Oh wow, that's interesting. So it definitely has a lot of Booker's character to it. It's definitely gonna have that Jim Beam peanut, nuttiness to it. It has some caramel. It doesn't have nearly as much dark fruit or red fruit on the palate there. Its finish is at least medium length though, I will say. It's not just dying off. It's good. It's very good. Is it that much better than like an average Booker's batch? It's better than an average Booker's batch. Is it better than a really good Booker's batch? I don't know. We're gonna have to take a second sip here, but this is pretty good. This is definitely, I think, a little bit, probably worth its MSRP. Let's. I think I have to take another sip to really see. Yeah. So it starts fruity. We get the dark fruit, and we get the plums, the cherries, a little bit of like watermelon in there, but very, very little. But then it really converts into some peanut, some caramel, and then the oak just takes you out. So there's a sweet oak there, there's a little bit of dry oak, and then there's kind of like a pepper caramel that really takes you out. And that pepper caramel actually lasts for a long time. So I would say this is actually a medium long finish. But the fruity flavors die really quickly. So if you're typically looking for fruity flavors, you're just not going to get a ton of that on this. I think it's on the nose, it's on the front palate, but the mid palate and late palate just aren't really getting a ton of it. It's still really good though. Like I think this is around an 8. I really like it. I would definitely drink this, I think, over any Little Book that I've tried. I haven't tried that many, but we will be trying all of them on the channel pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. But it's definitely beats Chapter 7 Little Book. Definitely beats my favorite Booker's batches of the recent years. So like 2023, 03, and 04, those are definitely losing to this. I mean, this might be my favorite Booker's that I've tried in a while. Definitely batting with some of my favorite batches of all time, like Country Ham 2019-03. This is really good. But let's take one final sip here, and then we'll give it a rating. Yeah. So on that sip, I got a little bit more nuttiness. But, I mean, that's really what it's about. The mouth feels pretty good on this one. It's not super viscous, but it's not thin. And that viscosity is going to, really start with the fruit, go to caramel, and then really take you out with oak. It's a good pour. It's a very good pour. I would not pay secondary for this. I would not pay $200 for this. But I think at $130, I'd buy a bottle. I might even buy two at that price. I think it's very solid. Definitely, I wouldn't sleep on this one. It's not bad. It's definitely a solid pour. But that's the review for today. I would rate this. I'm between like a 7.8 and an 8.1. I think I'm gonna give this a 7.9. I think it's losing out to like an average stag batch, so like a 23A or a batch 15. I think it's going to lose out to those things. I think it's really basically at weekly level. What I would have liked to see is just more punch, more flavor, and a little bit longer of a finish. And I would have liked to see a lot more fruit on the palate. Jim Beam loves their nuttiness. They love, giving you a little bit of fruit, a little bit of cherry, and I think that's necessary to have a really well-balanced pour. I think the Bookers that I haven't liked, like 2024-01, just don't have any of that red fruit at all, and then they're just kind of like a pepper, nutty caramel, and they're just not that good. But this is giving you all those good Jim Beam flavors. It's definitely giving you more of them. I can definitely see the flavors are a good bit deeper than your average Booker's batch. I think this will beat pretty much any Booker's batch in recent times. So, no, but well done, Freddie. No, I think the price point is pretty fair. I generally think Booker's is usually $30 to $40 overpriced. I think this would be better at $100, but I don't think it's terrible at $130. But that's the review for today. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you.